if you found this video, you're probably someone who is shyer, who's more technical. People might call you smart at school, but then you find yourself in situations where you can't speak up. You start rambling very often. Every time you have to explain yourself, you notice that you lose people's attention in the room. If that sounds like you, you're in the right place. Hi, my name is Jeffrey, and I'm a social psychologist turned entrepreneur who now helps technical startup founders with public speaking. And in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about my story about how I went from super socially anxious to teaching class sizes of literally over 800 students by the time I was 23. And in doing so, I'm going to teach you what I've learned about speaking up and confidence in my journey that I am very confident is going to help you in your journey. So let's get right into it. I want to start off with my story. I wasn't a naturally confident person. In fact, when I was 16 or 17 and I moved to Toronto, Canada, I remember my first year, I was in my dorm room. My door was locked. My parents just left and I was bawling my eyes out because I was like, holy shit, I have to face the entire world on my own. I have never learned how to do that. So I remember it was the night when my parents left and it was me alone for real after 16 years of living with my parents. And then someone knocks my door and I was like, oh shit, who is it? So I peek onto the hole on the door to see outside. And then I see that it's my neighbor who is also a freshman and he's knocking at my door because he wants to introduce myself. I open it and then he comes up to me and he says, hi, my name is Dominic. It's so nice to meet you. I just want to introduce myself because I recently got here and I want to get to know people on my floor. I was like, hi there, nice to meet you. And then I shut the freaking door on his face. Obviously, not a great first impression. And after that, I don't think we ever even talked again. But that was the extent of how bad I was socially. Now, fast forward now, I regularly teach classes of 800 students or more. And I remember there was one time when our student came up to me and then she asked me, Jeffrey, how did you get so good at public speaking? And honestly, I had to really think about it because the reality is that there was no one moment in my journey that flipped the switch. A lot of people give introverts some advice that sounds like this. Just throw yourself in the deep end, face your fears, and just do the scary thing. I'm here to tell you that that is genuinely horrible advice, and here's exactly why. So let's say your skill level is at 1, right? And you throw yourself into a level 10 situation. You're not going to rise to the occasion. You're going to fail. And that failure doesn't end up building resilience. It fucking traumatizes you. It depletes your confidence and it makes the next attempt even harder. So what you should do instead is you want to start so small that it almost feels pointless and then build from there. So let me give you an example. For me personally, I started off with a small group of a Toastmasters club with an average attendance of 10 people. And then after that, I built my confidence slowly. So once I finished with that, I went to class sizes of 50 people. Then I taught my first 100 student class. Then I taught my first 300 student class. And then finally, I found the confidence to teach my first 800 student class. Right? So you're building yourself up step by step from a small place to a much bigger place. And in psychology, this is what's called systematic desensitization. You expose yourself to things that scare you, but you start at a level where your nervous system barely registers a threat. And once you get comfortable, you can go one level up, and another level up, and then another. But the point is, you don't want to go from 1 to 100. You want to go step by step. That's how you build confidence over time. My next tip for you is when you're about to face a really tough speech, don't try to memorize your entire speech word for word. And let me tell you why. When I first started with my public speaking journey, I would literally try to memorize every single speech word for word. I would have my laptop out, I would have the key idea, I would write up the script as though it was an essay, and I would memorize it, and then I would feel comfortable enough to actually do the speech in front of other people. Now, this is a horrible strategy, and for two reasons. Number one, it's a waste of your time. If you want to memorize your speeches, you have to come from a speech from a place of pure memory, right? And when you come from a place of pure memory, you necessarily have to memorize things linearly, which takes up an insane amount of your cognitive capacity. And the second reason why this is a horrible strategy is because when you're rehearsing a speech, you're going to sound robotic. You're not talking from a place of your understanding. You are talking from a place of you trying to memorize your lines. Like, have you ever went to a presentation and you're so sure that the presenter is just completely scripted? Because it's so easy to tell. Instead, what you want to do is memorize the key moments of your speech. Which ones? The opening, your transitions, and the ending. Let me explain. So here's the science behind how this works. Research on performance anxiety shows that cortisol, which is your stress hormone, peaks in the first 60 seconds of a high-stakes situation and then begins to drop. Your body is literally designed to calm itself down, but you just have to survive the opening of it. Now, a lot of people, they feel that first wave of anxiety, they spiral, and then that 30 seconds of nerves turns into like 5 minutes of trying to catch your own breath. It completely kills your presence when you are on stage. Now, the fix is actually really simple. You want to know exactly what your first sentence is. Know where you're going to stand, where you're going to look, and what are the 3 things out of your mouth that are going to be. Rehearse that until it is completely automatic, and you can just deliver that shit like when you're half asleep. Once you get to that point, you can get through your opening so smoothly until your brain finally registers the fact that you're safe. Now, at that point, your adrenaline drops, you get your body back, and you can start speaking from a place of complete understanding. So here's my takeaway. Nail the opening, and the rest takes care of itself. Now, here's my last tip, and this one is the best one that I still use today. And this tip is you want to simulate your environment. Now, here's how a lot of people practice their pitches or their presentations, right? They sit at their desk, they script in front of them, they recite it over and over and over again, or they maybe like they have a mirror and they talk to their mirror for a long time, or they run through it their heads the night before their speeches. And then when their speech comes, they ask themselves, why am I blanking? Why can't I memorize any of the words? Why do I feel like this freaking speech sucks? And here's the reason why. It's because if you're not simulating the same environment that your presentation is going to take place, it's not going to transfer. None of your practice is going to transfer to the actual moment. And the reason is that the way you speak is deeply tied to the environment that you're in. If you only ever practice at your desk, your brain gets good at speaking at your desk. And the moment you walk into a boardroom with 6 investors staring at you, your brain's going to say, I have never been here before, and treat that novelty as a complete threat. In psychology, this is what's called context matching. You want to make sure that you practice in an environment that matches the environment where you are going to perform as closely as possible. Before I gave my lecture to 800 students, I went to the lecture hall the day before when it was completely empty. I stood on the stage, I took a look at all the seats, and I felt the size of the room. I heard the way my voice sounded in that space, and I let my nervous system get familiar with the environment before the stakes were actually real. And then afterwards, I did a quick run through with my professor in that room. I just introduced myself just to see what it was like to speak with another person present. And finally, when I was at the point where I could start practicing for my actual lecture, I was visualizing the space in the room, how big it was, where I would walk to, how I would get my notes back, how I would switch the slides, so that by the time I gave the real thing, it never felt completely new to me. My brain already registered that experience as completely familiar. This is the part that a lot of people skip, but it's the one that made the biggest difference for me. I didn't just practice for when things would go right, I practiced to make sure that nothing would go wrong. The more you're familiarizing yourself with your environment, the easier it is for your brain to process the experience when you're at the point where you have to actually do it. Here are the 3 things that we covered in today's video. The first one was systematic desensitization. You want to start small and earn each level of your speaking. Number 2 was you want to nail your opening sequence. If you can survive the first 60 seconds and your cortisol levels feel way better, the rest of your speech just flows so much more naturally. Number 3 is you want to simulate your environment so that it matches the context of where you're going to perform. Don't just practice in your dorm room, in front of your mirror, in your own head, God forbid. Practice like you're actually going to stand in front of 50 people and own that room. Now, if you're a technical founder, a CTO, or an expert, and you freeze up before you have to speak or pitch, don't worry. This is not a flaw. This is not who you are, and you just haven't built the skill yet. Every single skill can be built, and everything I shared is the same kind of skill that I build with the founders that I work with as a pitch coach. So if you want to talk to me about your next pitch, your next presentation, click the link down below, book a call, and let's talk about how I can help you. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you very soon. Bye-bye.